Hello, my TCG fam. It's me, Tiffany, and I am here today to tell you what a day in our life is all about. What it's like, things that have happened in our life, starting out from my life as a child, and we are going to go all the way up to my life with Big Belly Boo Boo, and so on and so forth. So, this will not be a video where I'm answering questions or I'm shouting anybody out. I did make a little bit of food so that I could eat while I'm explaining the story as well. So I wanted you guys to just see that I'm kind of going to review these Uncrustable uncured ham and cheddar roll-ups at the same time. So if you've never heard of these or you haven't tried them, go ahead and check them out. I'm going to try them and check them out as well. Again, these are new, and you can check those out at your own leisure. Today I am eating on some chicken wings and these little roll-ups. I've got Pepsi for my drink. I've got some red hot sauce on deck. You know I've got my ranch on deck. I've got some in here, as a matter of fact. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully I don't have any interruptions or any of technology issues, hopefully. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I am going to go ahead and open up this drink and give you a little ASMR, okay? I hope everyone is doing well. I hope everyone is doing swell today. If you have not already and you're coming on in as I'm not checking the comments, please give this video a thumbs up and share it out, share it out, share it out. Share, share, share. Sharing means caring. Let all your friends and family know what the TCG fam is doing. All right, guys. So I am going to give you a little ASMR. Shh. Listen up. Hopefully you guys could hear that. Okay. So first I'm going to try these little uncured ham and cheddar rolls. I think here is what they look like. Those are good, but I know what makes it better. Definitely need ranch or mayonnaise or some kind of something. They have uncured ham, cheddar, and new Chateau cheeses in the flatbread. So that's what's in these. And as you all know, I did make some chicken wings. So here is some chicken wings as well. Hopefully you guys can see everything. I want to get some of this red hot sauce, and then I will get started on my story time. Mm, dripping all over. So yeah. Okay. This is the start of my life story with a day in our life. So I was a child born of five. My mom and my dad, they were married young. They had five children. Actually, my mother had miscarriage as well. And um, all five of us kids were all born a year apart. So we were all close in age. There were three girls, two boys. Um, I am the baby of five. And I'm just going to kind of touch on things. I'm not going to go into detail. And like I said, I won't answer questions on this live, but when I'm in another live stream, you can feel free to ask any questions that you have and I will answer them. So when we were younger, it was more accepted for families to live with grandparents, I guess you could say. I apologize. I think I just saw my phone do something weird. Anyhow, it was my father's mother who was really, really Greek. And we lived with her in her home. It was me, all of my siblings, my mother, my father. It's freezing. Is it still freezing or is it okay? Maybe try to refresh. Um, Big Belly, are you in the stream? Can you tell me if it's freezing still? Mm, these are so good.
It shows you eat the wing. It's not up to.
Okay, let me see that. Okay, so I will watch it on here and I will make sure it's not freezing too bad for you guys. If it starts to freeze up really bad, then I will uh, start a new live stream. It seems to be doing okay right now, just moving a little bit slow. So continuing on with where I was at, it was me, my mother, my father, 5 kids, all young, and our grandmother that lived in one house. My dad was a drug user. He was also a veteran. He was in the Marines. He, when I was 6 years old, had hydrocephalus. If some of you don't know what hydrocephalus is, it's water on the brain. It was due to the drug use. My dad used cocaine and or marijuana. Those were his drugs of choice. Back in the day, it was like, I guess people really partied and it was just whatever. But my dad worked on the bridges, as most Greek men are, if you know any Greek men. So fast forward to 6 years old, and my dad had to have surgery at the Cleveland Clinic, where we live here in Ohio. And it's because he had water on the brain, hydrocephalus. Well, he had cranial surgery to try to remove the water on the brain. There was a blood clot in the back of his head, the back of his brain, that they did not see on the MRIs or anything like that, any of the scans. And so after his surgery, I believe it was like a day after or so, like a couple hours or like a day after. I mean, I was 6, so it's hard to remember a lot of the details, but that blood clot came down and it blew up his heart. So that is how my father passed away when I was 6 years old. And shortly after my father had passed away, my grandmother, which I called Yaya, that's grandma in Greek, and my mother got into an argument and whatnot, as most families do after a death in the family. And my grandmother threw us out of her home. So it was my mother and 5 kids, newly widowed mother with 5 kids, small children at that, that had to find a place to live. So I can remember that we went to stay with my aunt, my mother's sister, temporarily for a couple of days or a week or so, until my mother got a place for us 5 kids and herself. And it just so happened that we got a place across the street from where my aunt lived. So we were close by my aunt. And to be truthful, we never seen our grandmother again, for the most part, before she passed away. One, because we were kids. So we were too small to go on our own to see our grandmother. And secondly, I think deep down as a child, a lot of my siblings and I kind of didn't want to go and see her because she had thrown us out after our father passed away. Like, to us, that was just really cruel. We were little kids, you know? And it seemed like, well, in my eyes, it seemed like when I was a child, I could remember thinking, well, grandma loved us when my dad was here, but now she doesn't love us because she threw us out. But this was the way that life was. So my mother had got a place with all five of us kids across the street from my aunt. And I could just remember for the longest time, my mother was always struggling. Everything was such a struggle all the time. Bills getting paid. I could remember water getting shut off, electric getting shut off. My mother would have to light candles in the home because our electric was off at different times. It was just really hard for her to stay afloat with five kids, let alone to be able to work and get a sitter for five kids, because my dad was the primary income when he was alive. He made very good money painting bridges. If some of you don't know, they climb the high bridges and they paint the bridges. That's a very, very good career. A very dangerous career, but a very well paid career. So it began, hand me downs, stuff that my sisters wore went down the line to the next sister and then down to me because I was the baby. We never really had any money for like the first, I'll say, month or two until my mother started to receive Social Security disability, whatever it's called. Not disability. It's like survivor's benefits, whatever that means. Because my dad was a veteran. And so my mother would get a check for herself and then a check for each one of us children. Um, and it was from my dad's Social Security, from her being widowed. And the way that that goes is she would receive it until each one of us turned 18. And then when we turned 18, we would get the check ourselves if we were still in school. That's kind of like the way it went. So once she started getting those checks, you would think life would get easier, right? You would think we would have money. And we wouldn't have to be suffering. But you're wrong. Yes, we always had food and, things like that, because anytime we didn't, my aunt was across the street and we always had food. We didn't have to worry about food. But my mother would get a check for herself, and I don't remember how much that was. It might have been $600 a month. I think it was. And then she would get $600 a month for each child. So there's five kids, $600 a month times 5, and then 600 for herself as well. That was her income per month. Yeah. But yet I always had hand-me-downs. We never had money to do anything. Um, it just was always like we were really poor. And the truth was we weren't. We weren't really poor at all. My mother got one boyfriend after another, after another, after another. It seemed like one boyfriend she got with was an alcoholic or a drug addict. And pretty much us kids kind of paid the price for it. We had to just basically go through life living with all of these different men coming in and out of our homes and, um, you know, whatever. Now, I'm not saying she was like, a slut or anything like that. Not like a million guys coming through, but it was different relationships with different men at a time. So it would be like one guy for like, a year or two, and then it would be another guy for like 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, and then another guy. So it was just kind of like that. And it was just like, I wanted her to be happy because, my dad died, and it's like you want your mother to find happiness. You don't want her to be alone the rest of her life. But it was like her judgment was so clouded because every man that she brought to our home in her relationship was a loser, a total loser. Either he was an alcoholic, or he was on drugs, or he was abusive and he would beat her. It was always something. But there is a part that I left out. My father was abusive to my mother as well, physically and mentally. So she was accustomed to that type of relationship. And I feel like this: if somebody is in a relationship like that, don't stay. Do not stay. Don't ever think that you have to stay because your children or whatever reason. Because I feel like because my mom had 5 kids, that's why she chose to stay. Because she had 5 kids with this man and she didn't want her family, your family to be ripped apart. Okay, basically, that's kind of what it comes down to, at least in my eyes, because there really was no reason for her to stay with my father when she was being abused over and over and over. I apologize. Somebody was calling me. Um, Let me just send a text real quick. Okay, there we go. So, anyhow, if you ever stay in an abusive relationship and you feel like you're doing the right thing for your kids, you're not. Trust me, you're not. Because when your kids see that you're constantly fighting and arguing, that is not good for your kids at all. They will grow up, they will remember it just like I do. Kids for the rest of their life, believe me. So I could remember at one point in time, well, it pretty much was like my brothers got whatever they wanted. I had two brothers. They always got whatever they wanted. Yet my brothers were always in trouble. They were in and out of juvie. They would get sent away to the boys' villages, which is like a camp, jail type thing. They were in prison as they got older. They were always in trouble. And my mother would constantly bail them out. She would get attorneys for them. She would pay thousands of dollars to get them out of trouble. She would pay restitution. She would, you name it. But it seemed like every single time one of us girls needed something or wanted something, the answer was always no. We could never go to the movies with our friends, or rarely ever if we did, because we never had the money to do anything. But our brothers, they always had thousands of dollars for attorneys, shoes, you name it, whatever. Every time like the new Nikes came out, they were like $400, $500, $600. My mother would run out and get them for my brothers as soon as they said they wanted them, because she felt like if she didn't get it for them, they would just go steal it. And she was trying to keep them out of trouble. So she felt like if she went and bought it for them, then they wouldn't go steal it. But they always got in trouble anyway, stealing something else. They would steal cars. They would, break into houses. It was just everything. When they were little, they were terrible. Absolutely terrible. So growing up, we never really had our brothers around very much because they were never there. They were always locked up. So basically, us three girls were there for the most part, and our two brothers were either always locked up or, they would just not even come home. They would stay at their friends. They would, they just ran the streets basically. They ran the streets. Now, when we were younger, we kind of did run the streets a little bit too, but not like that. Like we were allowed to go play in the neighborhood, but when the street lights came on, we had to be home. We knew when it was getting dark, you had to have your butt in the house or else. So we did, do what we were supposed to do, or we would have got in trouble. But going a little further, the very first time that I got in trouble was because my sister wanted to go run with her friends and these boys, but I was the youngest. So I wanted to tag along with my sister. So whatever she went to go do, I wanted to go do it too, right? You're going with your friends, I want to come, it's fun. And for the most part, my mother usually made her take me, even if she didn't want to. So she would be like, well, if you're going to go hang out with so-and-so, you're taking Tiffany with you. I had to be the tag along. A, because she knew I would tell her if they were doing anything wrong. And B, because I was just the younger sister. So there was one point where my sister and we went with friends of ours, and we were just, I don't know, we were just like out at the lake and doing this and doing that. And I think I was probably like 12 years old at this point. And we just didn't come home. We were tired of it. And we're like, we're running away. We're just not coming home. And I don't know where we thought we were running to, because we were only 12. And we were with our friends who didn't have much money or anything like that. Didn't have much food. I mean, we had a little bit of food because we had a cooler because we were at the lake. But we didn't know where we were going. We didn't know if we were going to eat our next meal. I mean, really, I thought we had just come home like in a day or so. We really were just having fun with our friends and just hanging out, going to the lake, swimming, doing whatever. And we just didn't come home for like probably like 2 days, 3 days. Well, as you all know, I played softball. My sister played softball. We were always in softball. We did play sports. And my cousin had played also. So we always wanted to go watch her games and things like that because we liked, the sport. So I guess my mother had heard that we were going to show up to this game and we had already been missing for like 3 days. So she had already had a police report and all of this stuff for runaway kids, yada, yada. So when we showed up to the park to watch this softball game, the park police and our mother was there waiting for us. And I can laugh about it now because it seems so silly. I didn't even think we really ran away. We were just having fun and didn't come home for a few days. I mean, who goes to their friends for a few days and just comes back home? That's not really a runaway, is it? So what we did was, now I was the youngest, so I wasn't very bright, I guess. Dumbest criminals, right? They came up to us and they wanted to know because there were 2 sets of girls. And one set was me and my sister, and the other set was 2 sisters. So when they came up to us, they said, which one of you are sisters? Because my mother wasn't there right there. It was just the park police. And she was over somewhere else in the park, but they were looking for us because they knew we were there. So they came up to us and said, which one of you are sisters? And the other girls were like, oh, we're sisters, They're like, what's your name? And they told them their name. And, here's me. I'm young. And I'm like, well, we're sisters. This is me and my sister. But I didn't understand that they were looking for us because in my mind, I was young and I didn't think we ran away, So I didn't think we were like in trouble or anything. I had no idea that my mother even called the police or anything like that. We were young. So he's like, well, what's your name? And I gave him my name, my sister's name. She said her name. And he's like, you two, come with me. And I'm like, so now I'm looking scared. That was good. Now I'm looking scared. And I'm like, what does this guy want? Why do the police want us? And my sister's in the back of the car going, shut up. Don't tell him anything else. Shut up. And I'm like, Kim, what? What did we do? She's like, Mom's here and she's coming to get us. And I'm like, huh? I didn't understand what was going on. And needless to say, we both were arrested. We were taken to JJC, which is a juvenile detention center. And they wanted to know, why did we run away? And I'm telling them, like, we didn't run away. I don't understand what you're talking about. We were just having fun with our friends and we just didn't come home. Well, that's running away, they would tell me. And I'm like, okay, well, then I guess we ran away. Well, they wanted us to promise that we would never do it again, or we would have to stay for 30 days in JJC. But it had to be a group decision, me and my sister. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I promise. My sister, no, she wasn't having it. No. She had to be the little badass that got us to sit there for 30 days. Because she's not going back home. She don't want to go back home. She's going to stay with her friends, and she don't want to go back home because our mom doesn't let her do anything, and she's tired of it. So she's going to be with her friends, and she's not going back home. And now here's me. Kim, shut up. They're going to make us stay here for 30 days. What's wrong with you? And I'm a little kid thinking this is little kid Joe, and I'm scared. So I'm like, shut up, Kim. Well, we had to stay there for 30 days. Yes, we did. I can tell you this. I learned to crochet in JJC when I was a kid. And I learned how to do black folks' hair in braids. Just saying. So, I can tell you this. I never ran away ever again. But the lady who watched over our section of the girls, when you come out of your room for free time and whatnot, she used to crochet. And all the other girls were busy doing whatever they wanted to do, hot ironing each other's hair and this and that. And I would just sit there and watch her because I was younger. I would just sit there and watch her crochet, and I would say, that looks really interesting. I wish I knew how to do that, because she was making a blanket. And to me, I thought that would be really cool to know how to make a blanket, right? I was interested in it. I wanted to know, how do you crochet? How can I make a blanket? Maybe I can sell those blankets, you know? My mind is always working. I want to know, how can I make money? I'm a kid. I want money so I can go do things. So she said, I tell you what, because they weren't allowed to let us have crochet needles because it was like not allowed in JJC. She said, I'll let you use one of my crochet needles, but you have to sit right here next to me while you're using it. You're not allowed to take it into your cell, into your room. And so I said, okay, no problem. I'm not going to do anything with it. I mean, what do you think? I'm going to stab somebody or something? I'm only here because I supposedly ran away, which I didn't even run away. My sister's the one who didn't want to go back home, and I was with her. So she taught me how to crochet. So there was a good thing that came out of a bad situation. And I can honestly say, because of that incident right there, that was the very first and last time I ever wanted to be in trouble in my life ever again. So I learned very young that I did not want to be in jail or in JJC or anything like that when I was older, because that wasn't for me. You know, that was not, I wasn't a troublemaker. I was a good kid. My sister was the one getting in trouble, and I had to be with her. So, moving along to the next part of my life, I will start the next session of this vlog in another video. So yes, cliffhanger. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all appreciated my honesty and my story. Some of it's boring. Some of it is interesting. Some of it is funny. Some of it is not so funny. But it's life. This is real life. This is not made up. This is not fake. This is not phony. This is who I am. This is my childhood. This is where I came from. And I will see you in our next video. Stay blessed, not stressed. Bye, guys.